Hi, I'm Conrad Sewell, and I'm here chatting with Milky. Well, it couldn't be more different. When I went away, the world was a different place, and the industry was a different place, and I was in a completely different place. So, 3 years ago. I started writing this album that's now finally coming out. So, being through a pandemic, years off touring, and I've had a family, and got a baby boy and a wife now. So my personal life has changed a lot, and yeah. When it comes to the actual music, this album has been sort of just a whole fresh start for me. I recorded the majority of the album live and handpicked the musicians myself, and I never got to do that on my first album. I feel like my first album was just me traveling the world after Firestone and a few songs that had success, and just co-writing with other people, and you'd go into the studio and you'd make a song that day, and then you'd send it to the record label, and it was either, considered a hit or not, and then it would move on. You know what I mean? But this album, I wrote the songs myself, and then I took them to a band, and I guess just like, what they would do back in the day, that, we put a band together, we went into a studio for about a month, and we, would arrange the songs with the band, and we recorded it all live off the floor, which is like, so I was singing with the band, which is pretty rare these days, I think, in a recording process. People don't really record like that anymore. But I feel like that's what's sort of given this album its own identity. It's a whole new thing for me. So to answer your question, it couldn't be more different to anything I've ever done. So that song, I had it started on keys, and when I wrote the melody, it was one of those songs that it felt very big straight away. It was like, oh, this is going to be one of those ones that if we get it right, it could be the hit on the album or whatever. It took over a year to finish the song. I wrote it about my partner, and sort of trying, that in the early days of our relationship, when I was trying to convince her that I was serious and I wanted to settle down, and she was the one. So that was a process when we were dating. She didn't quite believe me that I was this, this man that I had promised her I was. And yeah, for some reason that song, I guess it's because we did know how special it was. It took, I think we did 24 mixes of the song. We sort of felt like it was like our Dancing in the Dark, which had 82 mixes, by the way. But it was it was just one of those ones where we tried it on keyboard, it didn't work. Then we tried it on every instrument known to man. Then we brought in circus keys, and we brought in different types of pianos and different types of keyboards, and you name it, we tried it, and the arrangement just didn't do the voice memo justice. And then finally an acoustic guitar came out, and Zane Carney, who played guitar on the album, just started strumming this thing, and it felt, throwback, but in a stadium rock and roll kind of way. And after a year and a half of trying to get the song right, we finally landed on what you guys hear today. And I'm really proud of it. I think it's a great, anthemic stadium rock and roll song, and I haven't heard anything like that on the radio for a while. So I really hope that it works and people enjoy it, and dancing around the rooms to it, dancing around the bars to it, and yeah, because that's what it was supposed to be, just this uplifting, fun, rock and roll tune. I grew up listening to soul music predominantly, a lot of Motown, just a lot of great voices, and I was in rock bands growing up, and so I sort of just mixing that, that's the music I love, that's the music I listen to, and I just tried to write timeless songs, and the arrangements are just very classic. You know what I mean? We didn't try and do something sonically that hadn't been done. We just tried to service the song and write great parts for the songs. And yeah, like I said, that's the music I love. That's the music I listen to. So, hopefully people are still down to listen to that stuff. This song, there's one part at the end of the song after the sax solo it's the walk through fire part, and that was just like a moment which felt very like Springsteen-y to me, like very like E Street Band, and I'm hoping that's going to become like a viral moment. And whenever we would get fucked up, we would always do this dance to it, and it's this silly dance. We've actually done it for a lot of songs, and it's never quite caught on. But I'm hoping that the walk through the fire, it will become the walk through the fire dance, and it will like go viral on TikTok, and that's what will break the song. Because obviously, you can't break a song without TikTok these days. So if you're out there and you're listening, go do the dance, the walk through the fire dance, and let's get some. Let's get Make It Me a Believer to number 1. I just tried to write some timeless songs that I felt, when we started making the album, I made a playlist of like all my favorite songs in the world, and most of them are, me and my manager call them grocery store records. They're songs that get played in grocery stores for the next 50 years. So that was sort of like, okay, first of all, let's write songs like that, telling my stories, and then with the band, make the arrangements, feel the same, iconic and timeless, and me sing my ass off. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think I pushed myself vocally on this album to places I didn't even know I could. Took a couple of steroids, a couple of days, just to really make sure I could pop off. On the album, lyrically, it's a lot about, my ups and downs of the industry, me dealing with like ego and sort of getting over caring about whether people liked me or not, or whether people liked my music or not, and just sort of settling with being happy to be making music, and how beautiful that is just in itself. So yeah, there's going to be a song coming out. We've got a lot of music that's coming out in the next 5 months, and then the album will come. And yeah, for me, it just feels like an incredible solid body of work with some incredible musicians on it. Obviously, the guys that I got to play with it, they're all, pretty much everyone's won a Grammy apart from me, so it should be musically up there. And there's a bit for everyone. Like, if you play guitar, Zayn Carney's on the album, and he's just shredding all over it. And sometimes he's not shredding, sometimes he's just playing like the perfectly classy thing in the background. And if you like drums, Victor Indrizzo plays drums on the album, who's Alanis Morissette's drummer, and incredible. And I've got Justin Timberlake's horn section, the Regiment Horns from Boston, they played on the album. So there's this fusion of different musicians that are all very, very qualified at what they do. And I was lucky enough. It was like a dream team band for me. It was like playing in the NBA finals with Jordan. I think, there's also like Projay, the guy who produced the album, who did like a lot of the early Robin Thicke stuff, and just the way that we, it's so different making an album like that. You take the song and then you have to find what works for the song. So you could have a song that was written on the piano, but then you've got 5 incredible musicians in the room, and everybody has to sort of sit in a place sonically and like not overplay each other. And like there's either, there's got to be one part that drives the song. So that may be a guitar part, or a guitar riff, or it may be a piano riff. And it's like, I guess just sort of a respect. There was a respect there in the room, and no one overplayed anybody, and everyone sort of listened and serviced the song instead of just, trying to outshine anybody, or like, be like, I want to play the part. It was just really talented musicians in a room together that were just playing to the best of their ability, but also giving space to every other musician in the room so that the song wasn't overlooked and like overshadowed by music. You know what I mean? And just how humble all of those guys are, and how much they still love doing what they do. You know what I mean? Like everybody just sort of went to their own place when they would play their part, and you can't really explain that or like sit unless you're in the room when you watch Victor play the drums or Zayn play guitar. It's like they're in their own fucking world. You know what I mean? Like they're just going to another place, and we would just do sometimes we would just let Zayn do take after take after take, so we could hear it, and I'd just be like getting off in the booth because it would just be like, let's just do one more take of that solo, Zayn. I just want to hear that, or like, because it's so amazing to see people that can play that well, and you could just watch them all day. So I mean, I learned a lot, but it's hard to just say one thing really. It's really hard. Stevie Wonder's a huge one. Michael Jackson is a huge one. Simply Red, The Stones. I don't know. The Temptations. Just voices. You know, people that were really were real singers, and like that was their thing. I'm trying to think. I mean, I love hip hop, so I'd love to have like that perfect melodic hip hop feature one day. There's a couple. Craig David, Born to Do It, the Thriller, and I think Songs in the Key of Life as well. What are you thinking? I think I mean, it's hard. Like that's a good question. I'm often thinking about what the audience is thinking, but I try and get out of that space and just go to a different place. But I think it usually starts with that. Like the first few songs, you're like, you know, you kind of know if the show is going well, or like, you know, if your voice is, you know, is feeling good. And then you're like, once you get out of your own head and like, what are they thinking? And you sort of know that you're getting what you want from the audience, and you can chill and you can just sort of sing the songs and go to that place. But I'm a reflector as a human being, so like whatever is in the room energy-wise, like I will tend to pick up. So if my crowd isn't into it, it's like the worst thing in the world for me. Like I can't, like if I'm playing in front of 20 people and they don't give a shit, it's like I just can't help but not give a shit myself. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like those are the worst. When you have an audience that's just like vibeless, that shit just kills me. But then at the same time, if the crowd is on, then I go to a whole nother place. So yeah, it sucks being a reflector in that sense and being a performer. Hannah Montana or Miley Cyrus? Are they the same person? I guess I'll go Hannah Montana then. Just because, hey, I mean, I would have gone Lizzie McGuire over both of them, but if you want to go that way, I would have gone the Olsen twins over all of them. Oh Happy Day from the Sister Act 2 movie. And a cool story, I actually wrote a couple of songs with Ryan Toby, who is that guy from that movie. He's also written for like Bieber and Usher and a bunch of other people. But I hit him one day on Facebook Messenger and I was like, hey bro, you're pretty much the reason I'm a singer. Would you mind getting in the studio with me? So that was the first song I used to sing, and then a lot of Michael Jackson. First concert I went to was actually Robbie Williams, and at the Brisbane Entertainment Centre, and it was great. He was such a great performer. So it felt like, yeah, that definitely probably like lit a bit of a, like, oh, I could do this, you know, like that. From an entertainer's perspective, I think Robbie's, you know, one of the greats, really. So yeah, that was my first one. The best concert I've been to, I mean, I think like festivals were probably like, you know, highlights. They're just like, you know, when you're young and you're just at festivals with a bunch of your mates and you're all pretty feeling good, if you know what I mean. I think I was at a festival once and like it was like Kanye, The Killers, Coldplay, and it was like back to back and something like that. So it was like there was some good times being had in the audience. I'm definitely a Spice Girl, just because I was the biggest Spice. I mean, I'd want the Backstreet Boys, a couple of the Backstreet Boys songs, because they're just obviously undeniable. But I mean, I think being a Spice Girl is like, shit, man. I was completely obsessed with Ginger Spice growing up, to the point where when they broke up, I came downstairs with a knife in my hands and I said, Mum, there's no point going on. I remember I was in an all-boys school and all my books were covered with Spice Girls posters. I was in grade 5 and I rock up to school and the rest of the boys weren't quite on my thinking yet. And they're like, what are you doing with all these girls on your covers of your books? And I was like, right, this is the Spice Girls. You guys got to get with the program. Was there a Naughty Spice? I don't know. No, was there a Spicy Spice? Yeah, I guess I'd probably be the Naughty Spice. I don't think there was a Naughty Spice, was there? No. I should know that. Yeah, Naughty Spice. Cheeky Spice. Better, a bit more loving. Don't Stop Believing, My Journey. Because it's the hardest, but the most impressive, if you can pull it off. Yeah, 30th birthday, Coachella, main stage with Kygo. It was my 30th birthday. All my friends had flown out from Australia. About 25 Aussies in the crowd there to watch me, and that was pretty special. I know Kanye West is pretty controversial right now, and he's saying some crazy shit, but I think he's also he's been quite a being on the forefront of putting artists into power and like sort of just making people think outside the box on a lot of things, which I really appreciate about him, and being honest and just not caring what people think, which I kind of love. But I think Prince and Michael Jackson were so good, and the quality of the music and like the iconicness of them were I've never seen anything like that. I mean, obviously the Stones and the Beatles on a classic sense, but like when it comes to like a pop star, Michael and Prince took things to this whole new level of like fandom, and like I don't think we'll ever see anything like that again. Be present and enjoy it, because I never do, and it's just that's the hardest thing to do, I think, is to be present and enjoy and be grateful for things, because it's just like things just happen so quick. But I'm always the person that's looking back being like, oh man, wasn't that great? And at the time I'm like, this sucks. Everything was always better back then. It was probably, I got a tape of the Fugees, Killing Me Softly, and I would listen to the tape on my Walkman while I would rollerblade. I'm so 90s. And I would sing it, and I knew every word, and I just thought I sounded like Lauryn Hill at the time. And I was like, you know what? I could do this. I could rollerblade and sing Killing Me Softly, and people would dig it. And I just loved music. Music always like gave me something, and I always felt like special when I was either listening to it or singing to it. I felt it in my body, you know what I mean? And it was just, that was always the one thing that I felt like I was, a little bit better than other people at. That sounds so cocky and in the wrong way, but like that felt like my little talent that I had that I could share with the world. So, yeah. No, that was like, I was like 7-8 years of age, I think, when that feeling sort of took over me.